close your eyes for a moment. Just let your thoughts drift for a second. Have you ever wondered where you actually go when you fall asleep?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? It's what we're digging into in this deep dive. We've been looking at this really thought-provoking YouTube video.
Right. Where does your consciousness go when you sleep? Quite the title.
It is. And, we all think of sleep as just rest, brain restoration time.
Sure, the basics. But this source, it really pushes beyond that. It gets into like vivid dream worlds, these weird out-of-body feelings people sometimes have.
And the brain activity thing, that's key. The video points out parts of the brain can be more active during sleep, not less.
Exactly. So our goal here, our mission, if you like, isn't just the standard sleep science.
No, we want to unpack what this video is suggesting about consciousness itself when we're, supposedly switched off. Is it just rest? Or is it something else, a different kind of awareness?
Okay, let's start there. This idea that the brain doesn't just, shut down completely.
Yeah, that's a common misconception.
Yeah.
And the video draws a useful distinction between deep sleep and REM sleep. That's where most dreaming happens.
Right.
So in deep sleep, things do slow down a lot. Makes sense, right? Physical recovery. But then you hit REM sleep and whoa, certain areas like the visual and emotional centers, the video highlights, they just fire up, sometimes even more intensely than when you're awake and dealing with the world.
It feels backwards, doesn't it? And then there's the prefrontal cortex, the logical decision-making part up front.
Yeah, that part seems to take a bit of a nap during REM.
Which totally explains why dreams are so nuts. Like, zero logic filter. 1 minute you're flying, the next you're talking to, I don't know, a giant squirrel.
Precisely. That lack of critical evaluation stems from the prefrontal cortex being less active.
Yeah.
But the other parts being super active, that suggests the brain isn't off. It's just shifted gears.
To internal stuff. Simulations, maybe?
Internal processing, exactly, not external input. So it makes you think, is consciousness ever really gone, or does it just change flavor, move to a different level?
Okay, now this is where it gets, for me, really wild. The source brings up DMP, dimethyltryptamine.
Yeah. DMT, it's a pretty powerful psychedelic, found in loads of plants. And the really interesting bit, possibly produced in our own brains.
Naturally.
That's the theory the video talks about. That maybe, just maybe, our brain releases tiny amounts of DMT during REM sleep. And there's some, emerging science looking at these natural hallucinogens and how they might shape our subjective experience, even without outside triggers.
Wow. And the video links this to how dreams feel, right? The weirdness, the intensity.
Yeah, because people who've taken synthetic DMT often report these incredibly bizarre, vivid experiences, meeting entities, seeing impossible landscapes, feeling like they've learned some deep secret.
And that sounds, well, a lot like some dreams, doesn't it? Intense, meaningful, but totally strange.
Exactly. The parallels are striking. So the video asks, are dreams just random brain noise? Or does this potential DMT link suggest something deeper?
It really makes you question reality itself, doesn't it? Like, if a chemical our brain might make can create these realities, what is this reality we're in now? Just another filtered experience.
It's a profound question. Definitely shifts your perspective.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. The video also talks about something maybe more relatable for some listeners. Precognitive dreams. Dreams that seem to, predict the future.
Right. And the source mentions some famous examples, like the story about Abraham Lincoln dreaming about his own assassination shortly before it happened.
Wow, yeah, I've heard that one.
But it also brings up the more everyday stuff.
Yeah.
You dream about someone you haven't seen in ages, and boom, you bump into them the next day.
Oh, I've definitely had that happen. Or dreaming a specific weird little event, and then it plays out exactly like that. It's uncanny.
It is. And the source poses the obvious question. If dreams are just random neuron firings, how could they possibly give accurate glimpses of the future sometimes? Seems unlikely, right?
Yeah, it really challenges the idea that everything is just physical cause and effect.
It does. This idea that maybe, just maybe, our consciousness can somehow step outside linear time when we sleep. That's pretty mind-bending stuff.
Totally. And speaking of mind-bending and maybe a bit scary, sleep paralysis.
Ah, yes. Not a pleasant experience for most people. The source describes it well.
Yeah.
You feel awake, you're conscious, but you absolutely cannot move a muscle.
Terrifying. And often there's this feeling like someone's there.
Exactly. A sense of presence. People report seeing shadow figures feeling pressure on their chest. It's quite intense.
And the video points out how similar these reports are, right? Across different cultures, people who've never heard of it describe the same things.
That consistency is fascinating. Is it just a neurological glitch? The brain waking up before the body's paralysis switches off. Or, as the source speculates, could be a moment where consciousness briefly perceives something else, something normally filtered out.
Definitely makes you think. Okay, let's move to something a bit less creepy, maybe even empowering. Lucid dreaming.
Right, the ability to know you're dreaming while you're dreaming.
Yeah.
And sometimes even control what happens.
Yeah. I find this fascinating.
It's super interesting because it shows the mind is still active, still capable of self-awareness, even decision-making during sleep. And studies show that during lucid dreams, that prefrontal cortex we talked about,
Logic bit.
yeah, it actually becomes more active, similar to waking levels, which points to that self-awareness kicking in.
It's like suddenly realizing you're in the matrix, but the dream matrix. And the source asks, why would we even have that ability if dreams were just random noise?
Good question. It suggests consciousness isn't just passively experiencing random firings. It can become aware, it can act. Maybe it's not totally tied to the physical body in the way we assume.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, another weird dream thing. Time. Why do dreams often feel like they last for hours, but only minutes have passed?
The time dilation effect.
Yeah.
That's a really common feeling. And the video mentions that it's not just subjective. There's scientific research suggesting our internal clock runs differently during REM sleep.
Really?
Yeah. And some lucid dreamers have apparently tried to, test it, run little experiments inside their dreams to measure time. The results often point towards time actually feeling stretched out in the dream world.
So, if our minds experience time so differently in dreams, what does that say about time itself? Is it fixed, or is it more like a perception?
That's the big implication the source raises. Maybe our everyday linear sense of time is just a construct of our waking minds. And dreams give us a peek behind that curtain, showing time might be more flexible.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot to process. And it gets even wilder because the video connects dreams to the multiverse.
Yeah, it takes quite a leap there. It talks about how incredibly real and detailed some dream worlds can feel. Places you've never been but feel completely solid and consistent, sometimes recurring over years. And then it brings in the multiverse theory from quantum physics, this idea of infinite parallel realities existing alongside ours.
Okay, so the link is...
The source speculates. Could dreaming be our consciousness momentarily shifting, tuning into one of these other realities?
Oh, like channel surfing universes while you sleep.
Kind of. And the video notes this isn't just a modern physics idea. You find similar concepts in old myths and spiritual traditions. Dream travel, soul journeys to other realms.
So maybe not just random brain firings then. The complexity feels like more.
That's the argument. The sheer richness and coherence of some dreams makes you question if it's all just internally generated. It suggests there might be more going on.
Okay, but then why do we forget most of them? They feel so real, then poof, gone.
Right. So frustrating. The video gives a couple of possible reasons. One is about the hippocampus, the brain's memory builder. It might just operate differently during sleep.
Like it's not saving dream files the same way.
Maybe. Perhaps dreams serve a different function, like processing emotions or experiences, and don't need permanent storage in the same way waking memories do.
That makes sense, like temporary files being deleted.
But the source offers another idea, which I find quite interesting. Maybe forgetting is a feature, not a bug. A protective mechanism.
How so?
Well, if you remembered every single bizarre dream detail vividly, could it blur the lines with reality? Would it be harder to know what actually happened? Maybe the forgetting helps keep waking reality distinct.
Yeah, I could see that. But then why do some dreams stick with us so strongly?
Good point. The source suggests those particularly vivid, persistent dreams might just hold more significance for our subconscious. They break through the filter.
Okay, last point from the source, and it's a bit morbid, but also kind of fascinating. Dying in a dream. People worry about that, right?
Yeah, there's that old myth, die in your dream, die in real life. The video, thankfully, debunks that straight away.
Yeah.
Lots of people have dreamed of dying and are obviously still here. The source suggests it's usually symbolic.
Symbolic of what?
Major change, transformation, the end of an old way of being, the end of a situation, something significant shifting in your life or your psyche. People often report waking up feeling different, clearer somehow.
Like hitting a reset button in the dream?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And the video also draws parallels between the state of sleep and the process of dying, neurologically speaking.
How so?
Well, in both, there's a kind of detachment of awareness from the physical body, right? Bodily functions slow down. You're less responsive to the outside world.
Okay.
And it even mentions how some near-death experiences, floating, meeting beings, life reviews, have echoes in certain types of very vivid dreams.
So the idea is that dreams are practice.
That's a provocative way to put it. Maybe these temporary nightly disconnections from physical reality are, in some sense, preparing consciousness for that final permanent disconnection. That's a deep thought.
It really is. So, wrapping this up, this deep dive really hammers home that sleep isn't just downtime. It seems like it could be. Well, a gateway.
Yeah, a gateway to altered states, maybe other ways of experiencing time, maybe even glimpses beyond our normal reality. We still don't know for sure what dreams are, of course.
No, the mystery definitely remains. But the possibilities raised by this source, they're compelling. Altered awareness, other dimensions, time behaving weirdly.
It leaves you with a final thought, really. What if all this bizarre, vivid stuff that happens when you're asleep? What if it's not just noise?
What if it's actually giving us clues? Clues about consciousness, about reality itself, that maybe we're just too busy or too, I don't know, conditioned to see when we're awake. Maybe it's worth paying a bit more attention to where our minds wander when we close our eyes.